Good morning, peeps. Jenny Clouston here. I have got a really lovely week ahead planned. Well, there's no planning, so that's why it's lovely. I'm not teaching the whole week. And that's not to say that I don't enjoy teaching, but I do love time alone in my sewing room, just pottering about, getting things finished. And so, so my videos this week might just be a whole lot of things that I'm doing, snippets of my daily life, finishing off things. Now, look what I found at the beach the other day. Woohoo! Somebody asked me about this little piece of wood that I've got in here. I'm going to find you a big piece. This is called scribbly bark, and the markings are made by a little worm in the trees here in Australia. And I just love the patterns, and I normally pick up big pieces and keep them, but this is just a little piece that's broken off, and I don't know why I love it, but I love it. Okay, so I have been making great progress on my hexagon quilt, only because, as you know, it's my yoga, what makes me happy, it relaxes me. There's no, so how it started off was I made a grandmother's flower garden, then I added on 2 little extra bits, hexagons, and then 6 hexagons around the top. How that works now is I simply lay this down, and these, well, not that one because it's the same color, they slot in very easily like that. Okay, you can see how that's done. Now, how I'm going to piece this together is that I am not going to just do this horrible kind of zigzag and fit them in. I don't like to make things easy for myself, but I like to make things enjoyable. So how I'm going to piece them is on the diagonal like this, a whole lot of strips like that, the length of the side, length of the width of my quilt. And then once these are done, I'm going to sew another strip in like that. So it's much easier working with a long piece of fabric pieces, and then instead of just kind of fussing and slotting this one in and everything else. So there you go. It's yep, it's looking, and I'm excited about that. I don't know if I'll be able to get a full quilt made with all these, but I'm not going to make any more. So I have another half-finished quilt, so I might join them, you know. I have oat jars, and it got me thinking about this one. There's that noise. When I was in South Africa one year, we went to a place called Leopard Rock in KwaZulu-Natal. And on the table at this restaurant, I'm sure I've told you this before, the sugar bowls were these wooden sugar bowls like this with little wooden spoons, and that was the sugar bowl. And I kept picking up this, I think it's an acacia tree, and or a fever tree. I don't know if this is a fever tree. Anyway, I kept picking up these bowls and feeling them because they was, kept picking this bowl up. And the next minute my dad went off, and he came back and he had bought me one of these sugar bowls and spoons, and so what a dad he was. Anyway, so there you go. When I first immigrated to Australia 23 years ago, you could go to an op shop and you could buy, or a thrift store, and you could buy doilies for 50 cents or 25 cents. And I just bought 50 million of them, literally. And I kind of made things from doilies for over many years. And then when I was teaching, people came to my class and wanted to make what I was doing with doilies. And I kind of I'm a bit doilied out, I still look at them and think whatever. But I will show you something that I made literally when I first immigrated. And once again, the lights, is wonderful to embroider, but the minute I stand up and move away. But as you can see, these are, those raggy quilts that we were all made in the 90s or whatever. So what I did is I just cut up my doilies into squares, and on the back of this quilt is denim. And so the whole thing was this, and as I said, this now is that white one shouldn't have been there. So you can see, as I said, this is over 20, 3 years old, and I use it a lot, especially when the grandchildren are here, because being denim on the back, it's very, serviceable. And then we sit and have picnics and we draw on it. You can see that there's a little bit of paint happening there because we were working with paint. Yeah, so my doilies, I'm a bit, as I said, I'm a bit done with doilies. I will actually show you another quilt that are made using vintage sheets and vintage fabrics and doilies. Cute, eh? Another quilt. Now this is a terribly busy quilt, but I absolutely love it. What I have used in this quilt is, these are all vintage fabrics, and I've English paper, me and English paper piecing, so I English paper pieced them, and then I appliqued some doilies behind the shape. So I don't know if you can see that. And it's very busy, and I hand quilted it. I mean, I just love hand quilted quilts. And once again, I keep my hand quilting all straight lines, so I've just cross hatched this one, and on the back I've used a vintage sheet, and as wadding I have used a, what you call it, a flannel sheet. And there she is. Isn't it lovely? I love that quilt. So all these doilies, I cut up a lot of doilies because as I said, I was all doilied out, had enough of doilies, and I used them all up. So look what I finished. Woohoo! I finished the little tea cozy using my dad's jacket and his favorite shirt. So I've left everything in. There's a pocket, but it's finished. And that is the buttonhole tab in the front that I've left on so I can I can pick the tea cozy off the teapot. So there's the front, and there is the back. Now, rightly saying that I'm not sure that this fabric actually goes with everything else. Maybe it's not the greatest of matches. However, it really doesn't bother me, because I started where I was and I used what I had on hand at my mom's. She doesn't embroider like me. So, I mean, really, that's my dad. And I stitched that with my mom when I was in South Africa. So it's a very, very special tea cozy. So what I'm going to do now is I have just brought the lining through from the back a little bit to make an extra little trim, and I'm going to secure it down. And then I have decided to put little Suffolk puffs, because I don't want to throw my dad's shirt away, what leftover fabric. So I'm just going to put little Suffolk puffs around the edge of this tea cozy, like I have done with the previous one. And then I'm going to enjoy my tea with my dad's memories of my dad. What do you think of that? My nails are in a shocking state. I'll go and get them done later on today. Not today. This week I'm giving to myself. And these scissors are great. I think some little small people have been using them. That'll just keep the lining and everything in place, so that when it's washed. Oh, and look what else I did. I made a new lining. Isn't that lovely? Out of a tea towel I had on hand. So there you go. It's all happening here, peeps. Am I excited? Sure am. What are you all up to? Beginning of a week. I hope it's all good. And you know what I've done? I normally, when I'm making the Suffolk puffs, I normally use quilting thread to make the Suffolk puff. And I gave all of my quilting thread, hand quilting thread, to an op shop. You must never give away your stuff because you're always going to need it sometime. Are you not? All right, I'm just going to bomb along here and get this finished and stabilized, and then I will see if I have enough fabric of my dad's shirt to make enough little Suffolk puffs to go, or some people call them yo-yos, but I'm going to call, you know. Oh man, my dad. It's turned out so, I'm so happy with it, really. Yeah. Memories of my mom and my dad. Every time I have a cup of tea. I'll see you now. I'm back. And do you remember when I said that I am going to make Suffolk puffs to go around the edge of the tea cozy? So I am just using one of these cheap little Suffolk puff little makers. And I'm sure if you've got them or buy them, you can just read the instructions and see how to make them. All right, so what I'm going to do is right side of my fabric, I'm going to place down and on this side. So this goes this way, right side of the fabric face down. And this little top, I'm going to line up. You see there's little straight lines there. I'm just going to line that up with the little nipple over there. I wonder if I should get closer. I'll see. All right, and all you do is you just click it in place. It just should click nicely. And then I am going to simply give this a trim of this fabric. I quite like to keep that hem quite a decent piece. Once again, you know, to make my life easy. And also in this case, I'm going to keep the Suffolk puff quite firm and stiff on top of the tea cozy edge. So there you go. As I said in the previous video, I normally use quilting thread for this, hand quilting thread, but I've given it away, so I'm just using some crochet cotton. And you'll see on top these little chumps like that, and you're going to stitch along that. So I'm going to come up back like this, forward, take a step down, all following those instructions. Come up, back down, all the way around. And I have, believe it or not, made a whole quilt out of Suffolk puffs. My son used to play rugby union when he was after school, and we'd have to travel to Brisbane for games. I live on the sunny coast, so I had an hour and a half in the car. I could stitch, and then I used to also stitch while I watched him. And I have made one rugby season, traveling and whatever, I made a whole quilt out of Suffolk puffs. I'll show it to you after this. Now, as I said, read the instructions if you know. I don't know if the instructions tell you to do this, but I go over the first one another time. I don't know why I do, I just do. Pull it out. Now time to push this out. Now when you're doing this little, when it's so small, it's a little bit fiddlier to get your little raw edges turned in, but it can happen. The bigger the Suffolk puff is, obviously the easier it is to do. And all I'm going to do is pull it up nicely, fuss with her a little bit. Be mean though when you pull her, be really mean. Be in a bad mood and give it a good hard yank. And then I just take a little stitch there, a little bullion knot, pull it through, and then reinsert my needle in the middle through to the back and leave this thread so I can actually stitch that onto whatever I want to use. And the tea cozy is finished. And I love it, and I'm going to christen it anytime soon. So there it is. So there the Suffolk puff is. There the tea cozy is. Your little Suffolk puffs on there. And I love it. As I said, maybe the colors aren't as, you know, coordinated as they should be, but it doesn't really matter, because remember, this is not so much a tea cozy as a story. time in my life, person in my life, 2 people, my dad, and then I stitched it with my mother. And I am going to make myself a cup of tea right now and enjoy this. Oh, happy days. Excuse me as I hope I don't make you too dizzy because I'm holding this camera by hand. But one of the things I love about English paper piecing is that it's portable. I can take it anywhere. So I can sit outside in front of the TV, blah, blah, blah. So here's all my stuff. There's my 2 color threads and my pin cushion, and inside my little pip I have my ring cutter and my thimble, and everything looks so pretty in a basket. I do like pretty things. Beautiful day here. Ooh, look at that sky. Right there is the quilt that I've made using Suffolk puffs and reproduction on Grace fabrics. It's very pretty and very summery and oh so 1930s. How lovely is that? Ooh, love it. One last video for today. My first cup of tea with the tea cozy, and I'm celebrating with a bit of Whittaker's chocolate from New Zealand, the best chocolate in the world. And now it is definitely goodbye. Thanks for your time. Bye for now.